Hi y'all. I'm gonna pretend that I actually left off in the FATF 40 recommendations at recommendation number 27, which is I think within subsection 7, which makes me think it's not true because I've always done subsection 3. 7 being regulation and supervision, at least part of it being regulation and supervision. 27 is entitled Powers of Supervisors. Supervisors should have adequate powers to supervise and monitor and ensure compliance by financial institutions with requirements to combat money laundering and terrorist financing, including the authority to conduct inspections. They should be authorized to compel production of any information from financial institutions that is relevant to monitoring such compliance, and to impose sanctions, in line with Recommendation 35, for failure to comply with such requirements. Supervisors should have powers to impose a range of disciplinary and financial sanctions, including the power to withdraw, restrict, or suspend the financial institution's license where applicable. Recommendation number 28, regulation and supervision of DNFBPs. Designated non-financial businesses and professions should be subject to regulation and supervisory measures as set out below. Casinos should be subject to a comprehensive regulatory and supervisory regime that ensures that they have effectively implemented the necessary AML-CFT measures at minimum. Well, at a minimum, that means casinos should be subject to comprehensive regulatory and supervisory regime that ensures they have effectively implemented Right, casinos should be licensed. Company authorities should take the necessary legal or regulatory measures to prevent criminals or their associates from holding or being the beneficial owner of a significant or controlling interest, holding management function in, or being an operator of a casino. And competent authorities should ensure that casinos are effectively supervised for compliance with AML-CFT requirements. Countries, this Part B should ensure that other categories of D and FBPs are subject to effective systems for monitoring and ensuring compliance with AML-CFT requirements. This should be performed on a risk-sensitive basis. This may be performed by a supervisor, or B, by an appropriate self-regulatory body, SRB, provided that such a body can ensure that the members comply with their obligations to combat money laundering and terrorist financing. The supervisor or SRB should A, take the necessary measures to prevent criminals or their associates from being professionally accredited, or holding or being a beneficial owner of a significant or controlling interest in the holding and management function. For example, through evaluating persons on the basis of a fit and proper test. And B, have effective, proportionate, and dissuasive sanctions in line with recommendations 325, available to deal with failure to comply with AML-CFT requirements. Operational and law enforcement. Recommendation 29, financial intelligence units. Countries should establish a financial intelligence unit that serves as a national center for the receipt and analysis of suspicious reports, and B, other information relevant to money laundering, associated predicate offenses, and terrorist financing, and for the dissemination of the results of that analysis. The FIU should be able to obtain additional information from the reporting entities and should have access on a timely basis to financial, administrative, and law enforcement information that requires to undertake its functions properly. Recommendation 30, responsibilities of law enforcement and investigative authorities. Countries should ensure that designated law enforcement authorities have responsibility for money laundering and terrorist financing investigations within the framework of national AML-CFT policies, at least in all cases related to major proceeds-generating offenses. These designated law enforcement authorities should develop a proactive parallel function investigation when pursuing money laundering, associated predicate offenses, and terrorist financing. This should include cases where the associated predicate offense occurs outside their jurisdictions. Countries should ensure that competent authorities have responsibility for expeditiously identifying, tracing, and initiating actions to freeze and seize property that is or may become subject to confiscation or suspect of being proceeds of crime. Countries should also make use, when necessary, of permanent or temporary multidisciplinary groups specialized in financial asset investigations. Countries should ensure that, when necessary, proper investigations with appropriate competent authorities in other countries take place. Recommendation 31. Powers of law enforcement and investigative authorities. When conducting investigations of money laundering, associated predicate offenses, and terrorist financing, competent authorities should be able to obtain access to all necessary documents and information for use in those investigations and in prosecutions and related actions. This should include powers to use compulsory measures for the production of records held by financial institutions and DNF-BPs and other natural or legal persons for the search of persons and premises, for taking witness statements, or for the seizure and obtaining of evidence. Countries should ensure that competent authorities conducting investigations are able to use a wide range of investigative techniques suitable for the investigation of money laundering, associated predicate offenses, and terrorist financing. These investigative techniques include undercover operations, intercepting communications, accessing computer systems, and controlled delivery. In addition, countries should have effective mechanisms in place to identify in a timely manner whether natural or legal persons hold or control accounts. They should also have mechanisms to ensure that competent authorities have a process to identify assets without filing notification to the owner. When conducting investigations of money laundering, associated predicate offenses, and terrorist financing, competent authorities should be able to ask for all relevant information held by the FIU. Countries should have measures in place to detect physical cross-border transportation of currency and their negotiable constraints. Probably including through a declaration system and a disclosure system. Countries should ensure that their competent authorities have the legal authority to stop or restrain currency or bearer instruments that are suspected to be related to terrorist financing, money laundering, or predicate offenses, or that are falsely declared or disclosed. Countries should ensure that effective, proportionate, and dissuasive sanctions are available to deal with persons who make false declarations or disclosures, in which cases the currency or bearer individual instruments are related to terrorist financing, money laundering, and predicate offenses. Countries should also adopt measures, including legislative ones, consistent with Recommendation 4, which would enable the confiscation of such currency instruments. General requirements. Recommendation 33, statistics. Countries should maintain comprehensive statistics on matters relevant to the effectiveness and efficiency of their AML CFT systems, which include statistics on STRs received and disseminated on money laundering, terrorist financing investigations, prosecutions and convictions of property frozen and seized and confiscated, and on mutual legal assistance or other international requests for cooperation. Recommendation 34, guidance and feedback. The competent authorities, supervisors, and SRB should establish guidelines and provide feedback with which will assist financial institutions and designated non-financial businesses and professions in applying national measures to combat money laundering and terrorist financing, and in particular in detecting and reporting suspicious transactions. Sanctions. Countries should ensure that there is a range of effective, proportionate, and dissuasive sanctions, whether criminal, civil, or administrative, available to deal with the natural or legal persons covered by recommendations 6 and 8 to 23 that fail to comply with AML CFT requirements. Sanctions should be applicable not only to financial institutions, but and DNFBPs, but also to their directors and senior management. Now we're in section G, international cooperation. Recommendation 36, international instruments. Countries should take immediate steps to become party to and implement fully the Vienna Convention 1988, the Palermo Convention 2000, and the United States Convention Against Corruption 2003, and the Terrorist Financing Convention 1999, where applicable countries are also encouraged to ratify and implement other relevant international conventions such as the Council of Europe Convention on Cybercrime 2001 and Inter-American Convention Against Terrorism 2002, and the Council of Europe Convention on Laundering, Search, Seizure, and Confiscation of the Proceeds from Crime and on the Financing of Terrorism 2005. Mutual legal assistance. Countries should rapidly, constructively, and effectively provide the widest possible range of mutual legal assistance in relation to money laundering, associated predicate offenses, and terrorist financing investigations, prosecutions, and related proceedings. Countries should have an adequate legal basis for providing assistance and, where appropriate, should have in place treaties, arrangements, or other mechanisms to enhance cooperation. In particular, countries should A. Not prohibit or place unreasonable or unduly restrictive conditions on the provision of mutual legal assistance. B. Ensure that they have clear and efficient processes for timely prioritization and execution of mutual legal assistance requests. Countries should use the central authority or another established official mechanism for effective transmission and execution of requests. Monitor progress on requests to case management system should be maintained. Then you have C, not refuse to execute a request for mutual legal assistance on the sole ground that the offense is also considered to involve fiscal matters. And D, not refuse to exceed a request for mutual legal assistance on the grounds that laws where financial institutions or DNFBPs to maintain secrecy or confidentiality except where the relevant information that is sought is held in circumstances where legal professional privilege and legal professional secrecy apply. E. Maintain the confidentiality of mutual legal assistance requests they receive and the information contained in them subject to fundamental principles of domestic law in order to protect the integrity of the investigation and inquiry. If the requested country cannot comply with the requirement of confidentiality, it should promptly inform the requesting country. Countries should render mutual legal assistance notwithstanding the presence of dual criminality. If the assistance does not involve coercive actions, countries should consider adopting such measures as may be necessary to enable them to provide wide scope of assistance in the absence of dual criminality. Where dual criminality is required for mutual legal assistance, that requirement should be deemed to be satisfied regardless of whether both countries place the offense within the same category of offense or denominate the offense by the same terminology, provided that both countries criminalize the end conduct underlying the offense. Countries should ensure that all the powers and investigative techniques required under Recommendation 31 and any other powers and investigative techniques available to their competent authorities, A, all those relating to production, search, and seizure of information documents or evidence, including financial records from financial institutions or other persons, and the taking of witness statements, and a broad range of other powers and investigative techniques are also available for use in response to requests for mutual legal assistance and, if consistent with their domestic framework, in response to direct requests from foreign judicial or law enforcement authorities to domestic counterparts. To avoid conflicts of jurisdiction, consideration should be given to devising and applying mechanisms for determining the best venue for prosecution of defendants in the interest of justice in cases that are subject to prosecution in more than one country.